Hello, everybody. I wanted to talk a little bit about today about the testing of Yahweh and the things that we go through in our daily walks. And I'm currently reading the book of Job in my daily Bible studies and readings. And I look at what Job went through, and it was for no reason but of his own, right? He came out more righteous than when he started. And the way his friends replied to him, the way his wife replied to him, and what he went through, and how he was stubborn to know he wasn't going to change his mind and curse Yahweh for the things he's going under. We all go through, if you want to call them seasons in life or situations in life or things in life. And there are many forces outside or things outside that the enemy tries to bring against us to just tear us down. And I always explain the difference between happiness and joy. Happiness is based on something that happens outside of our realm, we don't have control over. And based on what happens will determine our happiness or unhappiness. That's why we get the word happen or happy. But joy comes from the inside. And regardless of what's going on the outside, nobody could take away our joy if we know the source of our joy, which is our relationship with Yahweh. And the reason I say this is I'm a dad. I'm a single dad. And I have to deal with certain struggles that a lot of people that contact me are dealing with as well. Raising children as a single dad, and just covering from the results of divorce and so on. And when people leave you, your friends and other people, it's one thing. But when you get a divorce, it can seem quite lonely. It can seem quite tragic, and it's certainly not a good thing. There's nothing good about the situation, but we could see the good in it, and we could think about the good in it. But I do believe a child is going to do best for the most part with the mother and father in their life. But there are going to come times and situations where the child's going to need to learn for themselves the understanding of Yahweh. And Yahweh is going to need to be the parent of the child in certain situations, in certain events, where the parents are going to have to just back off and lead the child to make her own decisions. Now, I am currently in that situation because my daughter just is 10 years old now. And one of the things I teach strongly on my channel is about modesty. And when my daughter was much younger, people said, well, wait till she gets older. I was waiting till she gets much older. But here she is, 10 years old, and starting to question the clothing she wears based on the peer pressure from her friends around her and what they're wearing. And me and my ex-wife have differences in what we consider modest and how we teach our daughter what is modest. And so for me, this is a big challenge because I don't want to push my daughter away and in any way show any less love than she needs to get. But at the same time, I want to be disciplined enough to teach her what I see from the scriptures when it comes to modesty. And the fact that my ex-wife sees it different creates more of a challenge. And it creates confusion amongst the child. Once again, the real problem is the order of Yahweh is broken. Whether there's a divorce involved or not, the female should support the male in his decision if he's a believer in Yahweh, and that's the order. But the order has been broken, and now there's confusion for the child there. But the confusion really is not just due to that; it also comes from the peer pressure of the world today. And I do my best to shun my child from television. I don't have a television in the house, and talk to her when we see somebody immodest and so on. And she'll be stable and get it while she's with me. But then when her mom tells her it's okay and it's not a big deal and so on, it creates confusion in her and makes my job more difficult. And so recently she wanted to wear an article of clothing that I did not find appropriate. And I tried to explain to her why it was inappropriate and why she would ask me, well, all her friends are wearing it and her mom thinks it's okay. And so this is where I really had to do two things that the Bible taught me. And one of them is to seek the wisdom of others or the counsel of others in this situation, and try to just not say, well, this is what I see, and see what others have to see. And also at the same time, really pray to Yahweh in the best way I should handle the situation without not pushing her away, but being firm in my clear understanding of what the scriptures say about this topic. And I'm sure there are going to be many other topics as I grow up as a parent, but to me, this is something that's so dear to my heart. And and praying about it, thinking about it, and dealing with it, and getting different opinions from different people. I took a strong stance in what I should be doing and what and not waver from it. But it came to the point where I backed up a little on my stance, but not as so much to be in agreement with the world's ways or the world's ideas of modesty. And the expression of love that I saw from my daughter from doing so was a very humbling experience for me. And it was a very good outcome because I didn't lose the message of modesty. As a matter of fact, it opened up the door for me to talk about modesty even more with her. And she's excited to set the example and be set apart. But at the same hand, she's not ready to be as extreme as I desire her to be. And she's only 10. And as she gets older, I could see me setting a foundation in her where she'll be able to. So whether you're a single parent or not, or if you are a parent, I just want to encourage all of you to look at these challenges as an open door to express to your children not what you want or your spouse wants, or even what the friends want, but what Yahweh wants. And it's a great opportunity to teach children the word of Yahweh. And that's what I did ultimately with my daughter. I said, well, let's look at what he has to say about the situation. Because ultimately, I didn't know what to do. This is my first time with a girl this age, but I went to my friend who has 10 children, and I asked him, and he gave me good advice in saying, look, it's our responsibility as parents to explain to them as clearly as possible and let them know what Yahweh says about the situation and what he desires and what he wants. Now, how we enforce that is up to each individual parent. And but the main issue is we need to clearly let them know what Yahweh says about it, and pray and hopefully teach them the importance of being obedient to Yahweh's word as we prepare them for life. And the Bible calls us, one of the greatest callings we have in Scripture is to be disciples, and not just to strangers, but more importantly to our children, and to disciple our children. So more important than teach my child a lesson about one particular topic, I want to disciple her to listen to Yahweh more than anyone else, and in anything. And so that was my desire and my goal here. And I just wanted to make this video to encourage young parents in these situations to seek the counsel of others that have more experience in particular situations, not to completely cave in, or there shouldn't be any negotiation with your children, but there can certainly be deep study of Yahweh's word and consideration of certain things. And if things are done in a loving manner, in a loving way, I think we can overcome things. And yes, the main issue here is the family structure breaking down and I'm self-responsible for a good part of it due to a divorce, which is not a good thing. It's the beginning of the breakdown of how it affects the children if we let it. But more important, that we have to understand that Yahweh creates a structure and he has an order, and if we stick to that order, we usually won't end ourselves in these type of situations. However, husbands and wives, even if they are following Yahweh's order, won't always agree on everything. So finding a way to overcome a situation is ultimately the answer, or overcome a disagreement. And I am blessed because I speak to a lot of people that don't even have the opportunity that I have, and the time I have to be able to spend with my children and be able to explain to them what I feel according to Scripture is right and wrong. And you know, the thing is, today it's only about modesty, but tomorrow it could be about something much more deeper. And yes, it's sad that that my ex-spouse doesn't see things the way I do in terms of modesty and Yahweh's word. It's sad that I don't get the support, and I get, you know, she literally comes against it and attacks it as being not generous or kind to the child, and so on. And it's sad there's this major disagreement there. But praise Yahweh, because Yahweh's word is true, and regardless of what I think, Yahweh's word is true. And I want to encourage you, because I know there's a lot of you that contact me that are single parents, that are divorced, and going through similar situations. As of now, it seemed to have worked out, because my daughter's getting the understanding from Yahweh and feeling the emotional part of understanding what it means to be obedient or disobedient to Yahweh. And I could sit back and explain to my daughter, look, I could tell you what I want, but more important, I'm going to tell you what Yahweh wants. And I'm going to show you scriptures to support it. And in no way, and this is really an important lesson, I guess, and one of the most important things. In no way during the process did I talk bad or will talk bad about somebody that disagrees with me, whether it be a friend or my ex-spouse. I will never talk bad to my children about people that make decisions that I disagree with, especially the mother of my children. And so that's an important thing, not to let that happen, because the enemy wants to continue to destroy and kill things. And regardless of how many people come up against you and how hard it is, just remember integrity, remember Yahweh's word, and remember, you know, we're supposed to set an example in our actions. Don't ask your children to be modest and then not be modest. Don't ask your children to not watch TV and then watch TV, or not eat healthy, to eat healthy and then not eat healthy. You got to set the example. Okay. I wanted to make this video because I know there are many of you out there that are struggling with this, and hopefully it'll give you some clearer understanding and comfort. And I know many of you have advice that have dealt with these situations. So please, if you do, my daughter's 10. I know many of you have daughters that are 20 and 30 and full grown and so on. And maybe you've dealt with these things. And I know many of you have dealt with divorce a lot longer than I have. So if anyone has a comment, suggestions, advice, post them below the video. But I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good because I get to homeschool my children. I get to spend time with my children. And I make Yahweh's word the foundation of everything we do. And I feel comforted in what my friend told me, in that we can just do or it's our responsibility to teach our children what Yahweh says. How we apply that is our option, but as long as we teach what He says, that's the foundational piece we need to teach our children. All right, comments or questions below the video. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day, and shalom, shalom.
Come out of the world, oh my people, seek the truth, avoid the evil, learn Yahweh's ways. Torah life ministries, come out of the world, Messiah people, seek the